These are Evolv Phantoms. These are a flagship model of shoes, meaning that they're a very high-end, pretty expensive, not necessarily budget-friendly shoes. And, well, here they are. These are climbing shoes. You might notice they're fairly aggressive. They got a nice little curve right there, so they're great for aggressive bouldering climbs. I know people use them for all sorts of stuff, and you could make an argument that they're great for all of those things. I use them for bouldering, and I like to consider myself, well, somewhat experienced using these particular shoes. I have used these same model of Evolv Phantoms for close to 4 years and have gone through many, many different pairs. Not because they're not durable, but actually they're fairly durable, and that's the reason why I continue to buy them. Not only are they durable, but they're super comfy for my particular toe box and my particular heel box, and they're great for what I do. So today we are going to review these shoes. Know that I have worn this exact model for the past, like I said, 4 years, doing all sorts of things from sport climbing to bouldering, in gyms, outside, and have a ton of experience doing that. So join me on this review. So this is my 4th pair of Evolvs. This is my 5th pair of Evolvs. There is a slight difference in color because these are, of course, chalky and very well used. They're developing somewhat of a little hole right here. I probably should have retired these a while ago and maybe got them resold, but since I'm able to get a discount on these, it's just better for me to buy a new pair. So these are the old, out with the old, in with the new. Let's talk about the Evolvs. This is overhang. This is overhang. This is also overhang. And that is the bread and butter of these shoes. I really like them because they have so much rubber covering the heel, the top of the toe. You can get some nasty toe hooks, some nasty heel hooks. I love that there's a little bit of texture right here. It might not seem like it would make a big difference, but I think it does. There's also a little bit of a hook here, so if you're grabbing a really aggressive toe hook, it latches on really well. Some other shoes that I've used are just flat there, and I have noticed a difference. One other thing about the top of the toes, my camera woman, McKenna, also has Evolv Phantoms and has used them for over 2 years now. She absolutely loves them, and she got her first bat hang in these shoes because her last pair of shoes were just some sort of fabric-y material on the top and wasn't able to get as much traction as she wanted. But we swapped shoes that very day, and she used my nasty pair of Evolv Phantoms that were a little bit too big for her feet and was still able to grab that bat hang because of where the rubber is located. Behind me is Slab, and Slab is also the bread and butter of these shoes. Now, one thing that I would consider a weakness of these shoes is behind us over here are some volumes, and a lot of times when you're using volumes, especially on Slab, you like to get as much surface area as possible on these, and these are pretty aggressive, so a lot of times it's hard to get as much surface area as you want because you're trying to tow everything. Where these do shine is little chips like this that there's not much to them. Well, at least I don't think there are, but since there's so much aggression on these shoes, you can get such a tiny little edge with them. And I have noticed a huge difference in a new pair of Evolv Phantoms versus an old one because of how sharp these edges are. That's not specific to these particular shoes, that's true for all shoes. Usually newer shoes are gonna have that edge versus older ones. So if you're using a pair of rentals or you're using a more neutral pair of shoes, so this is aggressive, if you're using a neutral pair of shoes that are fairly flat, you will probably notice a big difference on Slab, tiny little things like this, and overhang. So if you have that experience, I'd love for you to drop a comment and tell the viewers that experience that you have had. Maybe that'll help them out and help decide what shoes they can get. So I've been an advocate of these shoes for a really long time, and those are some of the reasons, because of their awesome performance. Now let's talk a little bit about their durability. These shoes have been climbed in for close to a year, upcoming on a year, and they are developing holes in them. And that is me climbing about 2 or 3 times a week for pretty long sessions. And I would say that's pretty good for a pair of shoes, especially climbing so consistently. And I would consider them durable. I've gone to some outdoor climbs and used these outside on some real rock, and they seem to hold up just as well. Of course, my primary gym is indoors, as you can see, and they hold up just fine for that. I would say if you are a beginner climber looking for a new pair of shoes and you aren't super precise in your footwork, then perhaps these shoes are not for you. And I say that because they are very expensive, and a beginner climber is usually not very precise with their feet. They're smearing on the wall a lot, getting a lot of abrasions on their shoe because of their imprecise footwork. If you are an intermediate or advanced climber and are more precise with your foot, you will probably notice that you're just gonna get a little bit of wear right on the tip, right on the toe, because that's generally where you want to be putting a lot of your pressure, just right on the toe. And so you can see here that I have developed a little hole there on my right foot, so maybe my right foot is more dominant than my left foot. But other than that, these shoes have held up very well. The only other thing is the lacing. These shoes, the laces broke actually, but in the box there is an extra lace for you to use. And I actually went through 2 laces, and this is the 3rd one, so I kind of jury-rigged this a little bit, gave it a little bit of a knot there, and yeah, it's good for now, but I do know that you can purchase another lace on their website. So those are the 2 main flaws that I've seen in the wear and tear of these shoes. But I would give them a pretty high score as far as durability goes, because there have been plenty of other shoes that have a much thinner rubber that I've burned through a lot quicker. And that leads me to the next point. These do have a pretty stiff sole. These are, like I said, very, very broken in, and the sole is fairly stiff, especially on the toe box. Whereas some of your other shoes are gonna be much softer and much less stiff. So that is a matter of preference. One of the downsides that isn't necessarily a downside, but it is uncomfortable, is the break-in process of these particular shoes. I've broken in lots of different kinds of shoes, and none of them have come close to how painful these shoes are to break in. And there's gonna be a solid week, depending on how often you climb, I would say 5 to 6 sessions where these shoes are going to hurt. Because if you get them sized right, they are going to be snug. They're gonna be tight. And there's gonna be lots of places where they're a little bit tighter because they have this neoprene insole that is covered in this rubber, and the rubber is stiff and snug, and it's supposed to fit like a sock. And during that breaking in process, it is molding to your foot. And after that break-in process, these are the most comfortable shoes that I have ever experienced. Obviously, the first 5-10 minutes as you're warming up the rubber and breaking them in, each climb session, once they are fully broken in, that is still uncomfortable, especially if you sweat a lot. There's gonna be a lot of moisture in the shoe, and if you let them sit, they're gonna dry out and shrink. And putting your foot in after it's shrunk like that is quite painful. But do know that if you're trying on these shoes, they are going to be very snug, and it might be very uncomfortable for you. But also know that once you've broken them in, like most shoes that fit well, they're gonna be awesome. They're gonna fit like a glove for your foot. Today's video is brought to you by Dynamite Starfish. They are a climbing apparel brand. All their clothes are super comfy, and I am currently wearing one. It's just underneath this because it is in the single digits outside and it is very cold, and all of the clothes that I have of them are short sleeve because that's what I like to climb in. But if you like to climb in long sleeve shirts, jackets, and other stuff like that, they have that. Use the code SLAB for 10% off. Helps the channel out a ton. Thank you. These particular shoes are size 43, so according to Evolv, that is size 10 US. And me in street shoes, so I'm currently wearing a pair of Vans. These are 11 and a halfs, and they are fitting quite comfortably. And so I am a full size or size and a half down. Keep that in mind. It's often said that you should purchase climbing shoes that are smaller just because they're gonna fit snug, and it should be very tight, but not incredibly painful. Just a little bit of pain, just a little bit. So let's talk about the shape really quick. So this is a toe box. This is somewhat of an asymmetric foot toe box. You can kind of see it goes to a curve here. So it's super important to know the shape of your foot, and the toe box of the shoe so it should somewhat resemble what your toe box looks like. Another note is that the heel on here is fairly shallow, which is great for me. I don't have a big heel, and I have an asymmetric toe. Let me take off my sock real quick. So you can kind of see how the shape of my foot is like this. This is my toe box, and it vaguely resembles the shape of this toe box. So when you are looking for a shoe, whether it's Evolv Phantoms, make sure that you are looking at that toe box, because that is going to affect how it fits your foot pretty severely. And also, I don't have a very big heel, so a lot of people have more of a bulb here on their calcaneus, but that resembles the shoe a little bit. And so if you have a larger heel, there are probably gonna be some other shoes. I know La Sportiva shoes tend to have a much larger heel, but if you aren't able to try on shoes before you purchase them, those are a few things that you can look at if you're ordering online. That'll avoid a lot of return process. But if you are able to try them on, then do that. I highly recommend being able to try on shoes before you purchase them. And I also recommend that you purchase shoes that are half a size smaller than you think you need, because shoes like this, even though that the box and the directions in the box say that they don't stretch, they do, I promise. In my experience of owning these shoes and many other shoes, they are going to expand no matter the rubber. These are synthetic, vegan rubber, and these still stretch. And I've had organic leather shoes, and those also stretch. So it just depends on what shoes. So I would recommend looking at some different reviews, whether or not you're looking at Evolv Phantoms or a different shoe, to see what other people have said, how much they have stretched. If you want to see me climbing in these shoes, check out my shorts. I have many climbing shorts, and 99% of them are me wearing these particular shoes. So there are climbs of all angles, all different types, all across the world, in Japan, in San Diego, in Texas, in Kansas, which we are currently at. We're at Rendezvous Climbing Gym in Leawood, Kansas. If you're ever around, check it out. I might be here, and I would love to climb with you. But that is the Evolv Phantoms. Like I said, I highly recommend them, and you can know that I highly recommend them based off of how much I use them. These are my personal shoes, and I have owned these particular model for the past 3, even 4 years, and I am continuing to purchase them with my own money. These are not a channel sponsor, unfortunately. My DMs are open though, Evolv, if you do want to sponsor me, because like I said, these are an expensive shoe. So I hope that this video helped. I hope that you will go find a pair of shoes that fit you well, because ultimately I want you to go climb some rocks and enjoy doing it in some comfortable shoes. Or if you buy some Evolv Phantoms and are breaking them in, some uncomfortable shoes that will eventually become comfortable. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Peace.